Hey y'all, what's up my big old fam around the globe? And if this is your first time hanging with us, welcome to the crew. Hit that like and subscribe, we're pumped to have you here. Alright, so let's talk about the Middle East. You know how it is? Always feels like it's about to blow up. It's been tense for a while, but lately things are straight up boiling over. And there's this move by the US military that really caught my eye. They're bringing back the A-10 Thunderbolts to the fight. Yep, Warthogs. And man, that feels super intentional. Like, this ain't just a regular troop rotation or anything. Feels like a real response to what's been going down, especially with all the chaos stirred up by the Houthi rebels. First up, what even is the A-10 Thunderbolt 2, or the Warthog as folks call it? Well, it ain't your sleek, high-speed jet fighter. This thing is a whole different animal. It's basically built for one job, getting low and dirty and backing up the guys on the ground. When you look at it, its whole design screams brutal efficiency. It's earned mad respect, and yeah, it's kind of terrifying in combat. The first thing that comes to mind? That giant cannon strapped to the front GAU 8 Avenger 30mm rotary cannon. Talk about firepower. That gun is built to shred tanks, blow up bunkers and just wreck anything on the ground. It can spit out up to 3,900 rounds a minute. That's just an insane amount of lead flying around. And these ain't no tiny bullets. We're talking armor-piercing monsters.
But what's wild is how tough this plane is. It's designed to take a beating and keep flying. The pilot sits in a titanium bathtub for protection, and the A-10's got all these backup systems, so even if it gets hit, there's a good chance it can make it home. And here's another dope feature. It doesn't need some fancy runway. The A-10 can operate from rough airstrips, which is a huge deal in a place like the Middle East. You're not always going to have a big, secure airbase nearby.
So, the Warthog can land and take off from all kinds of rough terrain. Means it can get way closer to the action and support troops way faster. More flexibility, faster response time, huge win for commanders on the ground. So yeah, it's a rugged beast. It's got that nasty cannon. It can operate pretty much anywhere. And it's packing a bunch of hardpoints. 11 of them, actually. That's a lot of room for extra weapons. These hardpoints let it carry all sorts of gear. AGM, 65 Maverick missiles for taking out heavy targets. A full spread of precision-guided bombs, even old-school unguided rockets when you just want to light up an area. It's a true workhorse in the close air support role, super adaptable depending on the mission.
And here's the kicker. Some of these newly deployed A-10s are rocking specific weapon loadouts that tell us a lot about what they're getting ready for, but we'll get into that a bit more later in the pod.
It gives us a sneak peek at what they might be getting ready to deal with.
Oh yeah? No doubt. So what stands out to you?
Well, it's the combo, right? The A-10's got both defense and dead-on precision strike capability. You can see it in the loadout. On the outer wing pylons, they've got AIM-9 Sidewinder air-to-air missiles. Now look, the A-10 wasn't built for dogfights. It's not an aerial combat jet. But those Sidewinders are there just in case something tries to take a shot at them, so it can handle itself and stay locked in on its real job, taking out targets on the ground. Makes total sense. Got to be able to watch your own back and keep moving.
Then you've got those 70mm rockets. 7 of them. But these aren't your grandpa's basic dumb rockets, nah. Word is they're rocking the APKWS-2 system. That's Advanced Precision Kill Weapon System, loaded with M282 warheads. You know, the ones with the yellow tips and red stripe? Super specialized stuff. What APKWS does is turn those old-school dumb rockets into laser-guided beasts. And the M282 heads? They're built to punch through light armor, even some structures, so A-10s can hit soft-skinned vehicles inside buildings without leveling the whole block. Way less collateral damage than you'd get with big bombs. We're talking surgical strikes here. In some cases, they can even use them against personnel, like if someone's camped out in a doorway or something. As long as the targeting systems can get a lock, it's basically a sniper rocket.
Now, under the other wing, you'll see the lightning targeting pod. That's like the A-10's eyes. It's how the jet spots threats and locks them down in real time, using electro-optics and infrared. That IR comes in clutch at night or in bad weather. They've also got laser designators inside the pod to paint targets for the guided weapons. It'll give you a distance reading and exact GPS coords to feed into smart bombs like GPS-guided JDAMs. This is what lets the A-10 hit with surgical precision, not just brute force.
So, yeah, it's not just a blunt instrument. It can play it smooth and smart when it needs to. Now for the heavier stuff. They're also carrying GBU-39B small diameter bombs, SDBs, 4 of them. These aren't massive, each one's only like 250 pounds, but they've got pop-out wings that give them a range of over 40 nautical miles. That's a big deal. It means the A-10 can hit targets from way out without flying directly into enemy air defenses. Plus, SDBs are crazy accurate thanks to GPS guidance. We're not 100% sure which version they're using, but it's likely the GBU-39B FLM, that's focused lethality munition, basically designed to minimize collateral damage, especially in tight urban spaces. Even the regular SDB still hits hard for its size, though.
And finally, you've got the 500-pound JDAMs, Joint Direct Attack Munitions, hanging under the fuselage. Some of those are the laser-guided variants, LJDAMs, which have dual guidance, GPS plus laser seeker. So if you're hitting a static target, GPS does the job. But if it's moving or the GPS isn't spot on, the laser seeker takes over and brings it home. So bottom line, between Sidewinders for self-defense, APKW-S2 for precision light strikes, lightning pods for targeting, SDBs for long range, and JDAMs for heavy hits, these A-10S are freaking Swiss army knives of destruction. They're prepped for whatever gets thrown their way.
Alright, so now that we've got a solid idea of what these Warthogs are bringing to the table, let's zoom out a bit. Why are they being sent to CENTCOM now?
Well, we already mentioned the Houthi rebels in Yemen, right? No doubt, that's the big reason. Since mid-March 2025, the US has launched over 200 airstrikes targeting the Houthis, their infrastructure, leadership, the whole 9 yards. It's a direct response to the Houthis stepping up their attacks on international shipping in the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden, plus their support for other Iranian-backed groups in the region.
So the US is trying to take away their ability to strike, or at the very least make them think twice before they do it again. And this A-10 deployment, it ain't some one-time show. This looks like part of a much bigger buildup of American firepower in the region.
Oh, for sure. We've also seen the USS Carl Vinson carrier strike group sent in to team up with the USS Harry S. Truman group, which was already in the area. 2 full-on carrier groups working side by side. That's a major flex. And don't forget, like we said earlier, 2 Spirit stealth bombers just showed up in Diego Garcia too. So yeah, the US is stacking the deck, and these A-10S are a big part of that play.
Diego Garcia, that adds a whole new layer to long-range strike capabilities.
And this isn't the first time the 124th Fighter Wing has rolled into this part of the world either. Those A-10s and their crews, they've got a deep history in Southwest Asia.
Oh yeah, total workhorses of the Middle East. Back in 2020, they were out in Afghanistan for Operation Freedom Sentinel, focused on counter-terrorism and training Afghan forces. Before that, in 2016, they played a big part in Operation Inherent Resolve, going after ISIS in Iraq and Syria, and even earlier they were in Iraqi Freedom and Enduring Freedom South.
So this deployment? Just another chapter in a long saga for both the unit and the A-10s. And lately? Seems like they're calling on the A-10s more and more to beef up air power in the Middle East. Like after Hamas hit Israel in October 2022, shaking everything up. A-10s got deployed again in March 2023 and October 2024. Sometimes they flew alongside F-16s and F-15Es.
There was even a reported incident in November 2024 where an A-10 took out a group of armed fighters who were about to launch rockets at a US base. Right before this latest deployment, the Air Force even dropped pics of A-10S on what they called presence patrols, basically just flying around the region to remind everyone they're watching. So sure, the focus right now is on the Houthis, but don't get it twisted. The A-10 is still a key player in all these other hot zones across the Middle East. Kinda wild, right? S3. Media. Military aircraft on mission, aerial operations in Middle Eastern conflict zones, warplanes in action. So yeah, they've been busy even before this new spike in tensions, and let's not forget their role in the fight against ISIS, especially in Iraq and Syria. Between November 2024 and January 2025, they flew a bunch of missions hitting ISIS targets. Even into late December, they were giving close air support to ground troops fighting in tough mountain terrain in Iraq.
They're sending more and more A-10s to the region, even though just a couple years ago there was all this talk about pulling back advanced jets and cutting down presence in the area. If I remember right, the plan was to swap out some high-end jets with A-10s as part of a bigger pivot toward focusing on Europe and the Pacific.
You're totally right. That shift came during the Biden admin. They figured the Middle East was more stable, not as much of an immediate worry compared to stuff happening with Russia or China. I think it was Jake Sullivan, the National Security Advisor, who said before the Hamas attacks in 2023 that the region was quieter than it's been in decades.
Yeah, looking back, that might have been a little too optimistic, because now we're seeing the opposite. The US is doubling down. More troops, more carriers, even B-2 stealth bombers in Diego Garcia. And here's the thing. Every time you send something like a carrier group or B-2 bombers to one part of the world, that's fewer you've got available elsewhere.
So all this Middle East build-up is definitely going to affect how the US balances its forces, especially when it comes to keeping China in check in the Pacific.
That's the trade-off, right? Limited resources. If you zero in on one hotspot, it opens up gaps somewhere else. And all this is happening while the Air Force is planning to retire the A-10 completely. Yeah, they're supposed to start phasing it out in fall 2026, with the entire fleet gone by 2028. The 124th Fighter Wing's supposed to switch over to F-16S by spring 2027, just waiting on that environmental impact study.
Kinda ironic, isn't it? This jet, the A-10, is out there, actively handling real threats, showing it's still got fight left in it. And yet, we're getting ready to ditch it. Just goes to show how hard it is to find a real replacement when it comes to close air support. Nothing else quite does what the A-10 does.
So just to be clear, these A-10s are getting sent to the CENTCOM area of operations. That covers a huge chunk of the world: Middle East, North Africa, Central and South Asia. In this case, we're talking key spots like the Gulf of Aden and the Red Sea, where the Houthis are attacking ships. Then there's Yemen, where they're based, the Eastern Mediterranean, where the U.S. strike groups are posted, and of course, Diego Garcia, that forward base in the Indian Ocean where the B-2s hang out, all of it under U.S. Central Command.
So bottom line, the US is rolling out a bunch of A-10 Warthogs into the Middle East, straight into CENTCOM's turf. They're there to take on the Houthis, who've been getting bolder by the day. These jets, with their unique firepower and loadouts, are going to be a big boost in fighting back. It's all part of a larger US push to beef up military presence in the region. We're talking carrier groups, B-2S in Diego Garcia, and yeah, they're doing all that with the A-10, even while planning to retire it soon. Just shows how fast things can change in global strategy. Sometimes you've got to roll with what works, even if the long-term plan says otherwise. You need the right tool for the job. And right now, that tool's the A-10. So, to wrap up this deep dive on the A-10 deployment, here's something to chew on. Why this aircraft? Why now? What does this say about what the US military is really worried about in the Middle East? And how do they choose which aircraft to bring to the fight? It's a complicated puzzle, and this deployment is a big piece of it. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Let us know what you think in the comments, hit that subscribe, and turn on the notifications. At X News, we're all about keeping you updated with the real stuff that matters.